What will my students be using my PBworks site for? A majority of the projects that I use PBworks for follow this process. The students are assigned a topic. They know that what they're going to do with that topic is create place marks in Google Earth. But first they have to go through the process you see here, and this is a visual that I use with my students to both talk about the process and to remind them of where they are within this process. They conduct research, they find the information that they need. This research, the first wiki page they have, is a research page for gathering their information. That also gives them information like prompts about what they're going to need to find out about their specific topic. So with my fourth graders, each group is assigned one California mission, and they have certain pieces of information they need to find out about that mission. Once they're done gathering their information, they begin to transfer it over to their second page that's assigned for their group, and that's a Placemarks page. It's set up as a template, it has all the HTML ready to go for them, and it's all of the content that will go into one placemark that they make for Google Earth. Once they finish putting in all of the information, the image links to make the image show up in their placemark, and the links or citations for books of the information sources that they've used, they then copy that into a placemark that they create in Google Earth. So that's the process that they're undergoing. The collaboration that's taking place begins in a research page. Since it's the smallest project, I'll show you a fourth grade example. The students start out with a page that looks like this. This is the blank template that I use. So I substitute the name of the mission or presidio, put in the names of the group members, and then the rest of this information they need to find out on their own. I also give them a link to Citation Machine that they can use for citing their information. So let me show you an example of one of the mission's research pages from one of the groups. We're going to go over here to Mission La Purísima Concepción. So you can see that Han, Chaston, and Judy put in their name, well, I put their names in for them. They went and they found out this information about their mission. In this case, the students appear to have referred to 4 different websites, but they didn't use any books. Some of the students did use books as sources, and so they cited a book down here using Citation Machine. Once the students are done gathering that information, they're going to take the information that they gathered and put it into something that looks like this. Right now, this would be a pretty much finished product. But let me show you what the sample looked like. Deep within my 4th grade folder, there's actually 46 files in here. You can see that I have 2 files for each group. This is what the Placemark page looks like when the students first get it. I've put in information about what's called an asistencia, a mini mission. Everything that's bold and in color and larger text is what the students need to replace with the information or the links and things like that about their own mission. Using the different colors enables me to refer to things specifically. When I say to the students, okay, that orange text is where you need to put the link to your information source website, and then the greenish color text is where you put the name of that website. So I'm able to kind of refer to it specifically. I filled this one in with information so that if the students skipped that part, I would recognize it because it would be the information or the picture or whatever related to the submission that I used as a pre-sample. Will this be a recurring effort or a one-time project? Well, what you need to know is that in grades 4 through 8, each grade level has one Google Earth project per year, and they do use my PBworks site to create that project, to do the planning and the research, and then the actual creation of the placemark. But in middle school, there's also projects where the students are using other pages of this wiki to do the planning of their presentation. So I'm going to take you through a little bit of that. So it's a part of the year project, not really a one-time project, but a part of the year project for the students. And the 4th and 5th graders really don't use the wiki any other time of the year other than during the Google Earth project. But since I only see my 4th and 5th graders once a week, it does take place over several months. In my wiki, when I go to the home page, the home folder rather, is all these things that most of them are publicly viewable, and it's things that I put out there. I also sometimes put things like this: motivating your learners, photo fun requirements, start of school technology tasks. I have some pages that I want to be able to refer students to, so instead of having them change, I just make a page and then I link to it when I want to. 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade are all folders that are specifically for the Google Earth projects. The 6th grade folder also has, especially right now, pages about the research that they're doing about their assigned volcanoes. And then this Ocean Week Docent Groups folder has the project my 7th and 8th graders are currently working on. We have 9 different habitats in our habitat parade, and for each habitat we have 2 locations, so we have 2 different coral reefs, 2 different kelp forests, and these are the files that the students are using to discuss and plan their projects. So let's see how Coral Reef 1 is doing. As it just so happens, the first 3 students listed here are the 7th graders who will actually be presenting, and the last 2 students listed here are 8th graders who were involved in presenting last year about probably a different habitat, but they have experience that they can lend. A lot of times the kids like to use different colors to indicate who wrote what, which also gives me an idea of who's been participating. So the kids will comment to each other and will ask each other to do things, and they'll make suggestions. You can see that they're gathering information, gathering images. These are all links to images. Answering these questions that I started them with. These are things they have to find out about their habitat. So this is, I don't know that I would call it recurring, but they're constantly coming back. This is where they are actually working on their project, and I mentioned that I can use the page history to see who has done what. You can see some names appearing a lot and some names appearing not as much. For some of my Google Earth projects, let's find an 8th grade group that worked on Lewis and Clark. You can see that I have my templates, and let's find research for group 2. This is shortly into the journey of Lewis and Clark. They gathered some information about the period of time they were assigned. They decided what they wanted to say about that. They got some sources, and look, they even put in some images that they planned to use. They needed one image. Whoa! They needed one image for each of their place marks. Once they had that information, then they could go and revise those templates that I set up for them. You can see that here they didn't get rid of the colors, but they did kind of change the size of the text. The colored part looks like that's the parts that they typed in themselves. And this is all ready to go and to be copied into empty place marks in Google Earth. And then everything will show up the way I want it to. I want to make sure I cover the way that I organized my site, because I use folders to only allow students access to certain parts of the site. And also, what's in these folders is not normally viewable to the public. It's only viewable to registered users of my site. My students beginning in 3rd grade have their own school email accounts, so that's what I use for helping them set up their own PBworks accounts attached to their email accounts. One thing you need to know is that once I add students to a folder, they have the ability to edit any page that I put in that folder, unless it's one of the pages that I put in as a locked page. But just because they have the ability to edit it doesn't mean that they have my permission to edit pages that belong to other groups. So I go over the Wiki AUP with them at the beginning of the project and make sure they understand what they're supposed to be doing and what they're not supposed to be doing. In addition, I review with them the page history so that I can show them that anything they do to any page I will be able to see. So let's take a look in one of the folders. Here's inside of the 4th grade folder, and you can see that next to folder security there's a little shield, which means I have set up some custom security. What I can do is I add students, and as you can see I've had the students all rename their accounts with their graduation year, first name and last initial. I can add whatever students I want to a folder, and when I do, I give them what's called page level access, and then once they are in that folder, I can specify what I want their permissions for that folder to be. As you can see down here, I have the option of making the folder public, which I do not do with any of my folders that the students' work resides within. I have a folder for each grade level, but then I also have this Ocean Week Docents folder, which is separate because 7th and 8th graders both need to belong to that. So I have some files that I refer the students to and some different things that they can look at, some of which are locked. I do not want the students to edit my Ocean Week resources or my docent template, but the other ones that don't have the lock next to them, you can see that the students have been working away on them. And I can look at who has done what. So that's how I have my site organized, and that's what enables me to be able to keep it kind of safe. The public cannot see what my students are working on or writing to each other, although I do encourage the students to show their parents what it is that they've been working on.